All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. And we are at race number 3 of the Area 51 Indycar Oval Series here tonight at Michigan International Speedway for 125 laps at this 2-mile oval. And so we'll see who is going to be able to come out on top after tonight. Right now, again, first 2 races of the season, we've had wins by Mark Murphy and Rafael Ecker, and in doing so, they are both sitting atop the point standings first and second. Matt Wagner there in third, and those are the 3 drivers that have had top 5s in both events, so they're looking to see if they can carry their momentum forward into this race. And then we will have an off week next week, back the following week, and then we'll get into that kind of that Christmas New Year's break. So we'll have a little bit of time off in between until we somehow already get to 2025. So hope everybody's having a wonderful evening tonight. As you can see there on this track stats right now, track temperature 113 degrees. Ambient temperature is a much nicer 69 degrees. And yeah, so right now everybody's making their qualifying laps. Another great car count, just around the 30-ish car mark. And then, yeah, we'll be seeing what the strategies are going to be fuel mileage-wise, pit strategy-wise. Let's say Andrew's getting all his I's and T's crossed, I should say. Trying to figure out our fuel mileage and all that. So with it being a 125-lap race, again, pending it going green start to finish, basically, we're looking at the numbers. If you want to do a 2-stop race, you need to go 42 laps per tank. If you want to if you're going to do the 3rd stop, you're going to have to do about 31, 32 laps per tank to be able to make it. And I was hearing it's going to be at least in the mid-30s, just full aggressive. But somebody's going to gamble with the pit strategy, try to do some fuel saving. So it'll be fun to see. All drivers do have that one fast repair in their back pocket. Hopefully they don't need it, but it's always nice to have just in case something happens during the race tonight.
Yeah, Michigan's definitely one of those races where a fuel save is always in play, but compared to previous seasons, we're up to 125 laps now compared to the 100 that we ran in previous seasons of this race here. So a fuel save is still probably in the back of people's minds just to see if they can try and stretch the fuel and do perhaps one less stop if a caution comes out timely. But with the increased car counts that we have here this season, it seems very unlikely that you'll have a full green race here where you'll get a fuel save done. So it's all about counting backwards, similar to how we do with the Indy 500. And I think that these guys are going to probably have a bit of a mixed bag. So you'll probably have about 10 to 12 guys that are doing a fuel save, but you're going to have some of these guys that don't qualify so well want to try and get to the front. And that could really mix things up as the first in unfolds here.
Yeah, I'll be very intrigued to see kind of what the strategy is going to be. And of course, we know this is a bigger track. We always talk about the swap draft. This is a track where we can really see it take advantage of. It'll force the pace of the race to pick up, where you're not just going to have a full train, which of course we're not going to see that regardless tonight. But the swap draft is going to kind of force the hand of some of the other drivers to make sure that they can't just completely drop anchor. And plus, if they tried it, I mean, it would be such an accordion in that process. So I don't think that's going to be the case tonight. It looked like in practice, these guys are going to be, it's going to be a bit of a pack race, is probably the best way to describe it. So it's going to probably be fairly wild here tonight. It's going to be fun to see, but looks like we have the field is starting to grid now. So let's go ahead and pull up those starting grids for tonight, as it will be Mark Murphy on pole position. Again, he is one of those drivers that has a win in the series already, and then finally able to make it onto the track after some computer difficulties. Great to see Mark Cohn there on the outside of row 1. Then you got Matt Wagner, Craig Forsyth, Chris Stover, some of our regulars there right up front. Nick Wheeler, John Borst, Joe Branch, Shane Coker, and Eric Peterson, our top 10. Continuing on, you have Elmer Joseph there 11th, Casey Putsky 12th. And we'll start scrolling down the grid here. You've got Jason Collins, Frank Irwin Jr., Jeff Heisong, Edson Santos, Mason Mitchum, Baron Glover, Eric Schaus, Charles Teed are top 20. And then, to me, a little surprising in the qualifying is Nick DeGroot there back in 21st. Then you got AJ Hobson, Raphael Eckert, Gary Laverne. And then we get to the last couple qualifiers there, Josh Ward, and then drivers opting not to qualify, Joseph Morales, Hugo Galaz, Steve Rada, and Rick Sanchez. So 29 drivers here tonight, Andrew. Yeah, we're going to see what these guys have in store for us this evening. Still got a few drivers left to finish getting set up before we start to roll the grid off. But yeah, again, this is one of my favorite tracks with these cars. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, let's just want to point out one quick thing. There might have been some issue with qualifying that there was only one lap and not the normal 2 laps on your
Oh.
oval qualifying. And I'm sure that some people may have been caught out by that.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure.
that's part of the reason why you see this mixed up grid, which you were kind of alluding to as you were reading these names out here. So some of these guys that kind of go out full blast instead of trying to save their tires, perhaps on the outlap, may have gotten a little bit of an advantage, and they're starting a little higher than we normally see these guys. So that explains why we see the Nick DeGroot, Charles Teed, Eric Schaus type of guys that are kind of mired in the mid to back of the pack here. So a little bit of a strange qualifying session here, something that the guys weren't used to, but I believe that the admins were trying to say that this is a very long race and a lot's going to change even within the first 10 laps or so. So I think we're going to see a bit of a shakeup based on how these cars qualified, and hopefully everyone's kind of watching their mirrors and making sure everyone that's coming up on them is privy to what's going on and just kind of settle into where they want to settle in for the race.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think that explains exactly what you're talking about there. Because again, this is in qualifying, you're going to want to pretty much run as low as you can run. So those guys probably running that top line, building that momentum up, and then be able to kind of cut it down on exit and go for it. And like I said, with that one lap qualifying, that's definitely going to kind of change the complexion of what you would have done. So, so unfortunately, it's caught a few drivers out. But again, a track like this, keep your nose clean. I mean, you're going to have opportunities to get to the front. So, and we're going to see that for sure. I mean, this is going to probably be a lot of the story tonight, though. I think here tonight is going to be just comers and goers, Andrew. We're going to see the guys that start in the back that kind of were planning and honestly probably expecting to start up front. They're going to have to now figure out, do they change their strategy? Do they just stay after it and try to get to the front? And then, yeah, same thing, guys up front. Maybe do they just kind of try to cruise a little bit now with that maybe a little bit added track position? So we're about to find out. It's going to be a lot of fun here tonight. And we're going to start this thing off up in the front row here. As always, the initial start is on the green. And they'll have that double file start to kick it off. And then from here on, we'll have restart single file as we're underway tonight at Michigan.
Yeah, I'm watching especially Nick DeGroot, Eric Schaus, Charles Teed back here, 19th, 20th, 21st. These are the guys that are going to want to move up. They're not going to want to save fuel right off the bat. They want to get somewhere where they're a lot more comfortable racing, and the three of them, I hope, work together here. And we're already a little bit better than last week. We've gotten through turn one without a big half the field pileup. So I hope I didn't just jinx it for the rest of the lap, but I think we've already gotten a little bit further than we did a week ago, so that's good to see.
Yeah, and honestly, 3 and 4 to me on the opening lap is where I always get the most nervous, just due to the fact that the way this track is, the tires, and again, building up temperature. To me, it really takes till about this second lap where you finally get some temps in the car. Before that, I just feel like especially entering 3, just washes up real bad. And so, yeah, but like you said, right now, so far, so good. No crazy dramas. And yeah, so say keeping an eye on also the kind of timing, scoring, seeing the comers and goers. And right now, yeah, nothing too crazy. Everybody's maybe up or down a couple spots. I think the highest I see is about 3 spots. So, and right now, let's say we've got the whole pack within 3-4 seconds basically of each other.
You remember last year, not to be the dead horse, but Craig Forsyth had that big mistake in turn 3 on lap 1 that took out a couple of contenders, and it really set a bunch of those guys back for pretty much the whole race from trying to come back from that. So it was very good to see that everyone kind of took their time and wanted to heat their tires up in such a way that didn't really impact any other competitors. And yeah, we see that the field is still 2x2, especially in the mid-pack, so it's not really spreading out too much yet, and I don't really see much fuel saving quite yet. Maybe some of the guys that are single file from 3rd on to 8th or so, but some of these guys are going to start moving up here within the next 2 or 3 laps or so.
Yeah, and what'll happen is as the run continues, it's exactly what you're saying, is they'll see these guys coming up like, oh shoot, now we got to pick it up. And again, right now is kind of keeping an eye on the drivers. Right now, our highest climber is this guy right here, almost rim riding there out of 3 and 4. That's Ensign Santos, already up 6 spots from his starting position, trying to get that 7th around John Borst there in that number 86 car. So right now he's going to stay in station there. But Yeah, we got a handful of guys that have been up 5-6 spots. I mean, you see there, John was running by almost the third line. Edson's like, I'm going to go even higher than you. And he's going to get that momentum, go on by the 86 to jump up into ninth. And then a little further back there, now we've got some more movers as well. Charles Teed's up 6 spots. DeGroot right there coming along with him. And what I'm seeing from this, though, Andrew, is the guys that are moving forward right now, they are definitely rim riding it.
You can see from pretty much second all the way back through the top 12 or so, everyone's already gone to that high line. The temps are pretty warm here tonight, it looks like, so that's going to really inhibit a lot of this double file racing for much of the competition here, except for the first couple laps of a start or restart. So everyone's going to try and stay pinned to that top line to get the momentum for the mid and exit of both turn 2 and turn 4.
Yeah, well, I was saying, obviously, when that happens, your kind of natural instincts try to go a little higher of that guy, and that's where that wall starts to come and finds you real quick. So, yeah, they're going to have to try to find that balance of kind of how aggressive do you be, but again, still trying to kind of protect that top side. Because, again, you can see right here with Teed, he's going to sneak just to the outside of the 86, and John's going to have to give him a little bit of room there, and right there is that momentum. And, again, I mean, John left maybe, a car and a half, maybe 2 cars off the wall, and Teed saw it and it's like, yep, I got to do this. And so now you see John all the way at the bottom. Nick DeGroot's going to jump up top along with him. So, yeah, right now the top line definitely seems to be the strongest. And while we've been watching mid-pack, I think what we've also been seeing is the swap draft. We talked about it right at the kick of the race here, and I'm seeing Mark Murphy and Matt Wagner. They're the ones right now setting the pace, and what you'll see is basically Mark will get the run, Matt will get that big draft, and then Matt's going to come on by, and then they'll do the exact swap in through 3 and 4. They'll do the same thing in the front stretch where Matt will have the lead, Mark will get that draft, and he'll go on right back by. The guys that benefit from that, though, in my mind, Mark Cohn, Christopher, Craig Forsyth, they can just sit back, draft, and kind of save some fuel while those guys are probably going full map 1, burning extra fuel. Again, if we go green, lets them have that extra lap or 2 potential, or even possibly even more of fuel saving for having to make that green flag pit stop.
Basically, when these 2 guys are spot drafting, it's just creating a huge blanket of clean, fresh air that keeps these guys' momentum going forward from third on back, and they don't really have to do much other than just kind of do a couple of breathes here and there. But as I always say, that every teaspoon of fuel counts over the course of a run. You save a couple teaspoons on the front straight, a couple teaspoons on the back straight, and suddenly 30 or so laps later, you've saved about a gallon and a half compared to your competitors. So it's just all about just trying to save every ounce of fuel you can. I know it's kind of the cliche, but that's basically how it's done. And it's a disadvantage to the guys that are leading. Obviously, they're trying to swap draft and get away, even though they're realistically not getting away. But it's just helping the guys that are just sitting in line waiting for their turn to pounce for the next stint.
Yeah, exactly right. And right now, I'm focused on this guy right here, the 92 of Josh Ward. I mean, he has just been on a tear. Previous lap, he was the fastest car on track with the fastest lap of the race. That just got switched over to Eric Schaus in the 72 car, but he's up 15 spots, 25th to 10th now, and got by someone of the likes of Nick DeGroot, now working on Edson Santos, and he's running the bottom lane here. I mean, what do you make of this, Andrew? It looks like he's found some sort of either some settings or some just maybe that clean air on the front wing of that car in the turns where, I mean, that car is going the right way right now.
It's a combination of both for sure, especially if you have all the cars pinned on the top line. They all have to kind of anticipate when each person's going to lift and do everything like that. But if you keep taking the optimal arc, the bottom line through the corner, you can easily speed by 2 or 3 cars. But in order for that to work, you have to make sure that on exit you have a spot to sift back in again, or else that top line is going to take advantage on the exit. So that just proves to me right there, if he's able to pick up that many spots in 10, 11 laps or so, that there is a little bit of a fuel save situation going on in the back of the minds of the guys that are running mid-pack here. And as we said on the grid and everything, there are some guys that are going to want to move forward. There are some guys that want to just kind of hang out. And Josh Ward seems like the guy who wants to move forward and move forward fast.
Yeah, and Teed is going to be the same. Actually, I was about to focus on Teed, and I saw that big cut to the left there by Josh Ward as he's going to try to go 3 wide with Joe Branch and Charles Teed. And I was going to mention Teed's one of those guys as well, because right now, like you said, Josh up now 16 spots, trying to make it 17. Teed's up 14 spots. And as I say, and I'm just peeking in the background there, I saw Eric Schaus. Now he's working over that the 92 car. So yeah, so these guys are all starting to get pretty dicey here. Again, not even quite halfway through the fuel run. And I'm also looking at some drivers that have maybe fallen back a little bit track position wise. And again, I think those are the ones that are kind of showing that they are pretty much, I think, going full plan on the fuel save here. Just try to run this thing as far as you can, as I do believe this will be a track where you will go a lap down under green flag conditions. Really, to me, unless you're up front, the only two tracks where you can get away with it, I believe, are Pocono and Indy. So this track, Auto Club, even though they're 2 mile ovals, just the way these tracks are, you will get trapped a lap down for a green flag pit stop. So that's the risk reward, of course, of map one versus like going extra laps and saving on fuel.
I think one of these, it could be a mix of both, right? For these guys that are falling back a little bit, I'm riding on with John Borst right now, and I can't tell if he's got a problem or if he's actually trying to save a little bit of fuel, because he's a little set back from the pack here and kind of holding some cars up, which might indicate to me he has some sort of damage on the car, perhaps from an incident from starting from the P7 position. But yeah, it could be a mix of both. It could be someone that just gets lost in the shuffle, picks the wrong line, and suddenly finds himself losing 5 or 6 spots. Or it could be someone, like you said, being very conservative and saying, I want to go on a mega fuel save right now, see where it takes me. Maybe I get some sort of advantage with a pit entry error or something like that on the first stop that kind of propelled me forward a little bit. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the pit stop scenario for the early pitters when we get closer to it, because there's a little bit of a strategy play when it comes to that. But you can definitely see the movers and shakers, especially in the P18 and back.
Yeah, it's starting to become a big gaggle here from third on back. Like we talked about Mark Murphy, Matt Wagner. They've just been able to do the swap draft, but now you see Mark Cohn. He's been fighting with Christopher, Charles Teed, now Eric Schaus. They've joined the mix here. So I think the party up front's about to change. You see Joe Branch, he's stuck right in between there with Josh Ward as well. So yeah, it's definitely getting a little dicier up front right now. And I think it's also these guys probably trying to fight to be kind of that third car, if you will, in the draft, because again, that's kind of the sweet spot. As you can see, Schaus just gonna clear there. I think Mark maybe cut him a little bit of slack. Now Teed's trying to follow along there. So yeah, I think Teed and Schaus here are probably trying to spoil this party up front.
Well, you were just mentioning around lap 5, 6, 7, everybody was kind of pinned to the high line, but just take a wide shot of the whole pack right now. Everyone's 2 by 2. So people rode for a little bit, but I think they're starting to see kind of what we were mentioning in the early part of the race here, that some of the guys want to go forward, some of the guys want to fall back. But if you're sitting in P5, 6, 7, and cars start to pass you that want to go forward, you're going to quickly realize,
caution
out.
And it looks like it is the 5 Rick Sanchez. Looks like I think that's the only car I really see around. So actually it may have been a pretty small incident, honestly. We'll try to see where this all occurred. But yeah, so that's going to bring the yellow out here. That's lap 20 at the line when it happened. So let's go ahead and take a look here. We'll focus on Rick here in the 5. And let's see. And from what I'm seeing here, I'm going to say that's probably an apron.
Look where that car is pointed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
thinking the same thing. Almost looked like it started breaking loose before, truthfully. We'll try to see if we can get a better look, but I think it's going to be what we talked about here. You're just going to see, yep, right there. You get the lefts on the apron. And again, these cars do not like that banking transition, and so it just sucks them straight around. But I think, luckily, I want to say it's just going to be a little spin around here. No harm, no foul. Pick up the pace. And, maybe just the lightest of scuffs in the front wing, but I think that car is going to be no worse for wear. So we'll jump back live because we've got the field all hitting pit road as we speak. And
there's a little bit of a confusion there because a lot of the cars beat the pace car, so there's a bit of a hang-up in turn 3, but spread the field out a little bit. But I think everybody kind of entered pretty much in a straight line, but we're seeing the entire field. I don't see a single car that's staying out right now, so
no.
I think it's a good move.
Yeah, and I think everybody's got it's 20 laps in. You'd only be able to go another, let's say, 15 to maybe 20 laps more otherwise, so you'd be way off sequence if you did. So it looks like Mark's going to win the race off pit road. I think Eric Schaus is going to gain one Actually, I think Matt may be the one that loses a couple spots out of that whole sequence. So we'll keep an eye on that here, and everybody else kind of rolling out there further on back. So yeah, looks like so far so good. Nothing too crazy on this initial stint there. Obviously now this will be the next question mark, of course, in my mind is going to be the restart. We talked about the double file and the initial start. Now we got that single file restart here coming up, which should get the one to go this time around. Again, with the 2 mile oval, they kind of run the quick cautions. And watching Matt here is okay. For a second, I thought he was having to roll back, maybe had a pit penalty or something like that, letting everybody on by. But now he's going to hustle back up to the field. So yeah, so Mark Murphy, he's going to be our control car. I'm sure we'll see a few guys towards the back top off as well here on the one to go. And we're going to be just outside the 100 to go mark here on this restart, Andrew. So does that change anything strategy-wise? Does this now put everybody safely in maybe a two-stop window, you think?
I think it's such a stretch to really even consider the fact that we will go green from here for a two-stop, but I'm sorry, I misspoke there. Not for a one-stop, just trying to
Yeah,
really
sorry.
stretch some stuff out there. Yeah, that'd be about 50 laps or so. But I think everyone's going to stop 2 more times for sure. If a caution comes out untimely, somewhere in the probably in the 50s, that's where we're going to start to see a little bit of strategy play. But I think everyone's just kind of on the right trend right now. I wouldn't have been surprised if maybe someone from the back maybe tried to stay out for some sort of like wonky fuel save along the way, especially if more cautions come and you just kind of play your cards right and commit with caution coming out near every pit stop that it may just propel you up 20 spots or so. But I think everyone's kind of on a regular sort of strategy right now. Everyone's got fresh tires, and we'll kind of rack them and re-go from here.
Yeah,
Well,
Sam. I was just looking at the numbers right now, and just to get a rough math count to say, because that's never my strong suit. But yeah, so I think, like you're saying, we're just gonna be just outside of 100 to go here. So with that, the fuel numbers, I'll say it'll be I think about 103ish to go. So I think basically they can go like 34, 35 laps would be splitting it evenly, and that would be right on the number on the two stopper to be able to make it to the end without any dramas. So based on that, I'm gonna say everybody's safe to go two stops here to the end, even full rich. So we may have seen two trends of thought at the beginning. I think we're about to see a very, very different race here. I think the aggression is going to ramp up here.
yeah, I'm interested that uh, Teed and Schaus have made up a lot of ground. They're sitting right in the top 5, but Nick DeGroot is still mired in the middle of the top 10 here. So, I mean, there's a fuel safe situation going on in Nick's head, absolutely for sure. But I would have thought he wanted to kind of make a little bit more ground from where I expected him to be. So I went back and looked at his pit stop, and I didn't see anything really truly wrong there. So I think he's just kind of struggling, trying to find the right lane. And this is all about hunting for the clean air, as we mentioned many times. So look for Nick to climb a few spots in this stint, I imagine.
Yeah, I think and I mean, we know we know Nick. He's gonna definitely be kind of figuring out that risk versus reward. Is oh man, Stouffer there had a little bit of a wash entering turn one there, and I saw T to react to it, and so yeah, so the say up front's definitely shaken up a little bit now. Is Mark Murphy and Matt Wagner? Those are the two controlling at the beginning, and now at the moment it looks like it's Teed and Schaus, but I think that's about to change. So I think we're about to add Stouffer to that mix as well. So these guys, yeah. Definitely up front here, I think these guys are starting to dice it up even more than they were before. So yeah, so I think at this point it's pretty much race on. I don't see much saving going on for anybody in this main pack here. I'm watching Craig now too. Forsyth, he's working the third lane there, trying to get around. I believe it's Joe Branch. Nope, Joe gets right in front of him, but he's now hopped in front of Matt Wagner into that sixth spot.
It's interesting. We're seeing the same kind of trend here from last stint, right? Like everybody was kind of battling 2x2, and then they fall into this high line situation for about lap 4, 5, 6 of the stint. And then maybe in 7 or 8 laps, we're going to see him go 2x2 again. So I find it kind of interesting that you want to try and make hay early, right? So you want to try and make all the passes while your tires are fresh, but still people are migrating to the top at the beginning of the stint. And then it seems like when people want to move, they want to move to the 2x2. So I'm interested to see if people kind of change their method of driving and their method of fuel saving a little bit as the stint goes on.
Yeah, so I'm trying to poke around too. So right now there's a little bit of a separation here from first to 18th. They're all good. They're all together. But then this group on back here from Nick Wheeler behind, these guys are about 1.8 seconds now off that pack in front. So you got Nick Wheeler there, Hugo Galaz, Jeff Heisong, Raphael Eckert. Then you have to go a couple more tenths back to Elmer Joseph, John Borst, and he's also got again some names that we expect to see further up there too, with Shane Coker, Mason Mitchum, and then Steve Rada, Rick Sanchez, and Joseph Morales. So right now we're kind of split up in two packs from this main pack to that second pack, and right now the timing isn't going the right way. The leaders were about a tenth quicker than that pack in the back. And I talked about 1.7-ish. Now it's about 1.9. So I'm just watching the intervals between Nick Wheeler and Frank Irwin Jr. So yeah, we talked about the swap draft up front. I think these guys are gonna have to start figuring it out in this backpack here. Say, okay, how do we make this work? What do we need to do to get back up there? And again, I don't know enough about some of these new guys, or at least new to me, I should say, but I wonder if this is where like maybe a Jeff Heisong, Raphael Eckert, who I know have raced together, where it's like, hey, let us lead, you just use our draft. Let's see if we can chase these guys back down.
I'm wondering when the guys in the back of this pack here are going to start moving forward, or if they're in a full fuel save mode now, especially with the lap count kind of reset. I'm not sure that that's really what's on the top of their mind, because they're all just kind of staying in line and not really battling too much, which is what those guys in that second pack should be doing, kind of what you were mentioning. So I wonder exactly what the strategy is for some of these guys that are in the Nick DeGroot area of the pack and not able to really climb forward at all. Why they're just kind of sitting there and not really trying to make any progress forward where they might feel more comfortable. And that's going back to kind of what I was alluding to when that caution came out, is that some of the guys that want to move forward are trying to find their place, but it's very difficult for some of the guys that want to hang out and watch to fall too far back, because then they realize they're going to fall even farther and farther off the lead and lose an opportunity to possibly gain an advantage if they want to stay out for an extra lap or two.
Yeah, exactly right. And I can tell you, it looks like, yeah, Hugo and Raphael, I think they're working together. They've got that gap down to 1.4 seconds now, and so basically now they should start sniffing that draft. And so I think we're about to see that whole pack come all back together.
A lot of that has to do with the fact that the pack is starting to single file out, and everyone needs a spot. So everyone needs a spot in a single file line, the line of cars are going to trend farther and farther backwards, and anyone who goes 2x2 at the back of this pack is going to push dirty air onto the back of their cars more, allowing guys like Hugo and Rafi to catch up.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's down to under a second. So they've done their job to get back there. And yeah, like you said, probably a little bit of help as well from the pack kind of spreading out that little bit. But at the same time, I mean, we did see them starting to pull the swap draft off as well on their own. So, but yeah, job done for them. They'll be back in the pack, and you'll see them right there. They're just starting to poke back into frame, catching Frank Irwin Jr. So yeah, so that's a good break for them. And right now, it's actually now Elmer Joseph. He's starting to kind of pull a margin on the 86 here of John Borst. He's kind of in like a little limbo, if you will. He's got about a second and a half ahead of him, a second and a half behind him. So yeah, so unfortunately, he's kind of in a tough spot here where really, if he's not already, he's going to probably need to bump it to map 1 and get aggressive to get back to that pack in front of him. But I think at this point, I think damage may be done on the draft side of things. So looks like we'll have 25 cars at the moment in this main pack. But again, still lots of time to go. Only about 15 or so laps on the green flag run. As oh man, Craig, little slider there in front of Teed there, and Teed's going to go right back after him here.
And just what I had predicted from 10 laps ago is coming true. Everyone was single file, and now it's mutually assured destruction happening amongst the top 10. Just 2x2, undercuts, slide jobs, everything's happening right now. So some of these guys that are sitting E8, 9, 10, they're saying, nope, I'm done being here. It's time for me to have a run at the front. And I'm sure the guys at the very front would love something like that, so they have an opportunity to kind of save their tires a little bit. But it's just a matter of getting past those kind of aggressive guys sitting in the middle of the top 10 in order to do it.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And I see, I think Craig's had to work a little bit to get up there. We've talked about Josh Ward a couple times. He's now all the way up into third. We've seen some big moves by him. Haven't given a lot of love yet to AJ Hobson. AJ now working the top 5 there in that number 4 machine. He's up 17 spots from his starting position. And then kind of same way, we've mentioned Joe Branch a little bit, but I think it's kind of snuck by where, I mean, he started 7th and then, started 8th, now running in 7th. So he's been in this front half of the field most of the race. CT there with the big move for a moment. And then Mark Murphy, Matt Wagner, again, they were running 1-2 the first portion of the race. Now they're back to 9th and 10th, respectively. So it's shifted a little bit. So that's pretty close there out of 4 there. Jason Collins working the outside of, I believe that's Baron Glover. Looks like Jason's going to grab that spot. But yeah, like I said, you kind of look anywhere, and yeah, these guys are all over the place, and it's not the rim riding anymore. They're wherever they can find that clean air on the nose.
It's definitely getting a little sketchy out of turn 4 right now. I'm not sure if the wind is blowing that way or something, but yeah, we were watching Teed in that shot there, and T got a little like tight and then a little loose around the exit. So I think some of these cars are, if they're not really set up for turn 4, we might see a couple of those dust ups with the safer barrier there at the exit of turn 4 if they're not too careful, especially as these tires wear.
Yeah, we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. So right now, it looks like these guys have kind of settled in to some extent. Right now, Hobson's actually the one that's been making a charge. You see, he's going to try to see if he can get to the point, it looks like, here in turn 3. And I think he will clear Craig, without any troubles there. Look at the squeeze there by Josh Ward, somehow in between that number 50 and that number 13, as he's going to jump back up to 3rd. Now he's going to go see if he can get 2nd from Craig. Again, I mean, these guys go 3 out of entry. He's going to try to clear. Oh, man, these guys are not giving each other much room for error right now, Andrew.
Yeah, let's look at turn 4. That's where the trouble spot is, I believe, where the cars start to get a little bit tight as the tires are wearing here. T clears Forsyth, and you see he's pushing right up towards that wall, and some of those guys that are riding the middle lane there are starting to push up as well. So we're about halfway through the stint right now. I think we're looking for a late 50s pit stop here. So hopefully we get some green flag stops and we can really see these guys push the entry and try and pick up some precious tenths of a second during their pit stop there.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like you said, is pushing that entry in pit stops, because I've seen you can gain or lose so much time in these cars just by hustling into pit road. So that's gonna be definitely something to keep an eye on as well.
You got a pitter.
Oh.
You got Nick DeGroot coming in, and this is an interesting call. Not sure if this is a really backward strategy call.
I think is he working this one backwards, because we're going to be, 41 of 125. So that would be, I'm curious on this one too. I've seen him do
85 laps, yeah.
I've seen him do short pit before at this track, and it's actually worked well because he's able to tag into the draft versus kind of just being in the kind of just by himself. So I'll be curious to see, can he come out in this main pack right in the back, steal their draft, and then get after it? Because as he's coming out, you'll see the field, they're all going on by. So yeah, I'm curious about this. Or did he maybe have some lingering damage that he just was like, I can't do this, I got to do something about it. So this is a gamble for Nick here. I mean, right now he's going to be the only car one down, so he would get the wave around, and you can see he has synced up with the field. So now we'll have to watch and see what his lap times look like compared. But yeah, I don't think we'll see any reaction to this, though. I think he's kind of right now on his own island strategy-wise.
This is one of those kind of interesting ploys, because as you said, he will be the lucky dog and will get the wave around should he remain the top one lap down car, which I think will be the case regardless of what happens, because if anybody pits now, they're going to fall behind him, especially as he's in the strats and running better laps than probably anyone in the field, despite him having a full tank. So I think this is very interesting on Nick's part, because he can run full map 1 for the rest of the race and easily make the 85 laps here. You can just do one more pit stop and be good. So I think this is an interesting ploy by Nick, because either way he wins. He gets a lap back and sits at the back of the field and then climbs back, or a yellow comes out at the wrong time, or everybody else pits and he winds up at the front. So this is a very interesting one. We'll have to watch this one as it goes along.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how this one all pans out for him. So Yeah, so a little bit of strategy call here by Nick, again pitting a lot earlier than we would have expected. Basically, again, went about 20 laps or so, and then hopped on in here. So we'll keep an eye on him. Also, I'm trying to peek at some drivers we haven't chatted much about. Say Gary Laverne, he is in a hornet's nest right now. He's up 11 spots up into 13, so he's had a pretty solid run here thus far. And right now you can see again just all the traffic around him. He's got Jason Collins right there, Baron Glover, Nick Wheeler. So yeah, so he's got his hands full. He's got about a half second to Matt Wagner. And I think that's what these guys around him are saying. It's like, hey, you've fallen off these guys a little bit. We need to get up there. As, oh man, Jason, you could see, got very tight there in 3 and 4, had to roll out of it, and saying if he doesn't there, he's going to wash up into Nick. And taking full advantage of that is Nick Wheeler. He's going to try to go for that spot now.
This is definitely a huge battle here in the middle part of the teens with Baron Glover and Jason Collins and Gary Laverne and all them. They're still in the draft, so they're not losing too much time, but they have to be able to work together or else they'll start to fall back from that front pack again. So I'm curious to see how these guys shake it all out, and especially if Gary can drag them back up to the pack again, because they're already starting to kind of break off that top group there. So hope that these guys can kind of sort it out and keep this pretty close amongst everyone in the whole field, as Gary gets a little bit of the door shut off on him there.
Yeah, I'd say this time it's Baron Glover who's now gotten around. And it was lap by lap there. I mean, we saw Jason go for it, and then we saw Nick Wheeler going for it, and then all of a sudden, while we were looking back up front, then Baron Glover got the spot, and then here comes Nick Wheeler going back after him again. So, and then while I was watching up front too, I saw some big moves with Josh Ward on Eric Peterson. I saw Peterson kind of make a quick cut down to kind of react to the. I wouldn't say a slide job, but it was like, hey, I'm clear. I got to get into the spot as quick as I can. You almost saw similar with Schaus there right in front of Edson Santos too, where if they're clear, they're going to take that spot because, like you said, they got to keep that momentum built up. So, yeah, these guys they're having to scrap to keep that track position they have right now, especially like you said, as the tires are starting to wear. So, yeah, very interesting to see how this is all panning out. So now the question that we've talked about, where's Nick DeGroot in all this? Let's go look for him. He has worked his way up to, looks like, who's that, Mark Cohn, as well as, I think that's Hugo Galaz. So, I mean, he's still a fair bit back. It's maybe halfway through the pack. Oh, caution's out.
Not what Nick wanted to see. The alternate strategy would have worked a lot better if he was able to kind of take the lead and get out ahead of everyone during their green flag pit stops. But yeah, we see Baron Glover had some issue there out of turn 2.
So we were talking about him, he was kind of in that dogfight, if you will. So I'm wondering if he, Nick Wheeler, Jason Collins, those guys are all together here. So let's go back and we'll take a look here. We'll focus on that number 93. Let's take a closer look here. We'll focus on Baron and see if we can find out what happened. He's actually right behind Matt Wagner at that time as well there. And I'm seeing right there, he was just right in the wake of Matt. So he's going to get some dirty air, and we'll just kind of, I'm watching the seams. That's kind of what I usually like to use the seams as kind of a marker for where the cars are. And, oh yeah, just drifts up maybe a teeny bit there. I'm going to say nothing really Nick did wrong there. Maybe just thought he could open up the wheel a little bit more than he could. Or just, again, maybe that car got really tight in Matt's dirty air. And so, unfortunately, that sent him around. But, again, kind of a similar situation. The 2 yellows we had so far, just a little mistake, one catching the apron, one drifting up a little bit. Quick little simple spin, grab a gear, and back underway. So, damage-wise, so far so good. Honestly, they've been able to recover well. So, everybody's going to hit pit road except that fellow there. He's going to get his lap back. That's Nick DeGroot. And now Shane, I'm looking at the 32. He's staying out here. Not sure if that was by strategy or by accident. But again, they do have a limited set of tires. I believe they had 4 in the pit, so this will be set number 2 already in use. So they'd only have 2 more sets to the end here, and we still got, 75 or so laps to go in this one.
Yeah, I think I'm actually a little bit, Craig Forsyth spun coming out of his pit box.
Oh no, yeah.
And
he's got some damage.
He has lost some of his front wing, so that's unfortunate for Craig. That's come right back in and get a wing replacement there.
Craig's going to be mad, but we'll have to go take a look.
Yeah, what I was going to say was from I'm actually kind of shocked that that caution came out, because Barron was down on the inside of the track, and it tends to not really trigger a caution if you're way down on the inside line there. So I'm a little shocked at that incident there, causing a caution. But I guess the iRacing gods want to give it to these guys for spinning down the inside. I guess more cars were coming, so they wanted to pin it that way.
Yeah, so we're watching Craig here. All looks well, and yeah, just snaps on them. They're just trying to power up there. Everybody's trying to get every little spot they can, and yeah, just a little tap there. Honestly, I think that should be good enough to not use a fast repair. So I think Craig will be okay. I don't think he'll burn a fast repair on this one. I think he'll just get the wing replaced. And I can tell you the 32 actually did hit pit road the second time around. So I think that may have been a, hey, I'm just going to stay out, then come in when it's a little safer. And then, yeah, I'm going to try to keep an eye on Craig, because what should happen here for Craig is if this pit stop's about 5 seconds longer than usual, that's kind of the telltale that he's going to get that wing replaced manually, which it looks like that's exactly what's about to happen, because he's been in the pits now for about 12 seconds, 13, wings back on, and yeah, and then he's about to come down and away. So I think he's going to get away with it. And then also look at this, Matt Wagner also on pit road here. And do we need to do some math here potentially, Andrew?
Yeah, so it was 75 to go. We were talking about 33. 33 for the whole stint, so why not just come in and top off on fuel? Yeah, you're going to be stuck in the back with some guys that are a little less seasoned in this kind of racing, but those guys definitely have a little bit more fuel in the tank now than some of the other competitors, so that might be the difference when we come to the end of the race, should this go green the rest of the way.
Yes, I did a quick number check on that too. So basically, roughly, I say it's obviously less than that, but roughly about 75 laps to go on the restart. I think it's going to be more like 72, 73-ish, I want to say. But basically, yeah, if they can run about 37, 38 laps per tank, that should be enough to get them to the finish. So I think from here, I want to say probably now a one-stopper to the end. So I haven't got the green flag pit stop yet, but we're back underway. A.J. Hobson now leading the field back to green. Charles Teed, Chris Stowe our top three.
Yeah, you're not going to want to pit early if you don't have to, so this is going to be a mega fuel save for these guys. And with the mega fuel save comes less chance of a caution, because everyone is kind of just hanging out behind the car that they're following. We may see some movement, but for the most part, everyone's going to just kind of be hanging out behind the car that they were behind the whole time.
Just saw someone catch the wall there out of... I think that may have been Steve Rada. I saw the lime green there. But looks like he's going to be able to get away with it thus far that we've seen. So not seeing anything popping up on my screen right now. So it looks like, yeah, I think we're okay here. But you can see how spread out the field is right now. And I think, like you said, I think that's the telltale where these guys are kind of doing the after you. No, after you. You're okay. And so I think the kind of the ramp up right now is a little less than maybe what we've seen before. So, but yeah, the guys to watch though are definitely going to be crazily enough, are going to be the last three in this pack here. Matt Wagner, Craig Forsyth, Nick DeGroot. I'm going to be seeing what kind of progress they can make, because I mean they got to go last to first now at this point to try to get up there.
Yeah, with the kind of spread out field, that kind of hurts the fuel save, because you're not able to really sit behind someone if you're kind of, I don't know, a second behind or a little bit more than that than the rest of the field. So obviously, as the guys at the front start to slow down a little bit, it'll pack up a little more. But you see guys like Charles Teed and A.J. Hobson up front, they're not fuel savers. They want to go race as fast as they possibly can. So I don't really see them slowing down to pack up much of the field, but you'll start to see the middle of the pack really come together and start to save that fuel. Especially guys like Chris Stouffer and Joe Branch, Eric Peterson, they know what they got to do in order to make it 37 laps. And again, 75 laps since the pit stop, from the pit stop to the end of the race, I should say. They're going to want to save every ounce of fuel they can. So I think Charles Teed and AJ Hobson are just going to lead this pack. Josh Ward is a kind of a wild card. Not really sure what his strategy is here, especially because he's not raced with a lot of these guys up front. many times, so he may kind of fall in line, or he may try and get his way to the front too. But just judging on how these other guys up at the front have raced in the past, it's going to be just full blast and see how it shakes out as the race goes on.
Yeah, from what we've seen so far, I don't see Josh Ward as one that's just going to sit and ride. He definitely looks like he's going to get racy as, man, he and Eric Peterson so close to each other there, wheel to wheel. As I know, it was looking like it was going to be a little sketchy there for the two of them. But, yeah, like I said, right now, Teed and Hobson, they're the ones doing the leapfrog. But, yep, he's not just cruising here. He's going to try to take the inside line. Can't quite do it. Now he's got that dirty air. It's going to wash up a little bit, but able to kind of regroup there. But now Peterson's going to have a big run here off the back.
It doesn't look like these guys are really fuel saving here at all. I'm actually trying to figure out where in the top 10 we're going to see some of these guys start to lay off a little bit.
I'm watching. I think Peterson probably is one. I think because he could have probably forced the issue there a little earlier. Actually saw a little bit of smoke there. I think Mason Mitchum. Oh yeah, I think Mason Mitchum and Nick DeGroot both had a moment. Because I'm just noticing a few drivers showing that they went off track there.
Yeah, Mason Mitchum had a little bit of an incident in turn 1 where Nick DeGroot was off into the grass. It looked like a little bit of a ping pong.
Oh yeah, there was something that happened there. So, it's the 32 as well as Shane Coker. I'm going to go back. We'll take a quick look at this to say this is on replay. And
like Mason Mitchum was trying to find a hole, and he may have been a little too aggressive on going low, and next thing you know, there was some contact there.
Yeah, so a little surprising that doesn't bring out a yellow there. Oh, there's Nick DeGroot doing a little bit of grass sliding, but able to keep pointing the right direction. So unfortunate.
I think it's just back of the pack sort of thing where a lot of the cars weren't affected too much, so they didn't throw the caution. Kind of the Baron Glover situation where he was off the track, kind of on the inside, and next thing you know, a caution came out. So very, very interesting physics in this situation, which we've talked about many times in the past. That kind of makes it a little weird to see what causes the caution, what doesn't.
Yeah, and I say again, this is all based through iRacing on what it detects either up. As I say, that caution now is out, and this time I believe it's for the 8. Yeah, definitely going to be for the 8 of Steve Rada. That car missing its front nose cone, left front is broken, and so caution back out here, and that's going to be pretty much coming out right almost at the halfway point of this race here, Andrew. So let's take a look. This is also obviously a great break for those that were put in that bad spot, like Nick DeGroot and Shane Coker and company. And I think for Shane, he may actually be able to benefit and get his lap back. But let's first go back and see if we can catch what happened here. And you can see Steve working the inside there. Trying to see who he's... Oh, that's with Nick Wheeler, I believe. Yeah, it's Nick Wheeler he's fighting with here. So we'll take a look here. I'm thinking this might be a yellow line situation again.
Yeah, Rick Sanchez all over again.
And there it is.
Towards it. Yep, there it is. So,
and you can see it too. Is as soon as you touch it, it sucks you in even further into it. So at that point, yeah, there's just not a lot you can do. And this time you can see it just throws that car completely around, noses straight on into the wall there. Pretty solid hit. And then you'll see in the background, well, yeah, I think it was that car right there. And that's where iRacing, like you're saying, trying to figure out what constitutes the yellow, what doesn't. And iRacing saw that car in the background and said, yep, that one's going to be the yellow. So, like I said, what could have been one a few laps ago, this time it decided it was one. And I'm back to the strategy side of things. If these guys take tires here, they've only got one set, if I'm not mistaken, to the end.
That's correct, and there should be only one more stop left. So I'm interested to see if anybody stays out here. We're watching the cars.
Got one, got two.
And this is a good opportunity for guys that have been racing towards the back to get a chance to race up front again. So Edson's staying out. Edson's bringing along.
Yeah, he's got Frank Irwin, Baron Glover, and I'm going to say surprisingly, but with the slide and everything, Nick DeGroot's going to stay out too. And I think he's just like, you know what? I got to do something. This hasn't been going well for me. And then it looks like Joseph Morales, if I'm not mistaken, looks like although he may have I think he may have already pitted, but like a lap too early. So I think he's going to have to get waved by. So I think it's going to be the top 4 here. I think Eric Schaus trying to see where he needs to put himself for a position. Because that's the other thing, too, is if you don't hustle up quick enough here, those guys leaving pit road, they might pass the timing scoring ahead of some of these guys that stayed out. So, however, I'm going to prove myself wrong on this one, Andrew, because I'm looking at pit stop times. Eric Schaus, about 5 seconds, about 4 seconds for Joe Branch. So there's a lot of fuel-only stops being done by those guys. So they'll be a little heavier, but they'll be on equal tires. So they've saved that set here with this shorter run. They decided, you know what? We want the fuel, but we also want to save those tires just in case.
That's what makes this whole tire allocation pretty interesting, because you can't just come in every time and put new tires on. So will the older tires actually do a little bit better, especially on a restart situation where you want to try and get yourself going right away and fire up with some worn tires? It'll hurt you in the long run, but I think it's better to see how exactly the tire strategy plays, especially when we get maybe 15, 20 laps into the run.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And I can tell you right now, also, you see this 32 hitting pit road. That's Shane Coker. He did get the wave around, so he's back on the lead lap after getting that. So right now, the only car a lap or more down is the number 3 of Mason Mitchum, who's unfortunately 2 down, I apologize. And I said I look back as well. I want to say he was pretty much lap 1, turn 4 at Homestead. So unfortunately, just hasn't been a good start to the season yet for this 3 car. But I think it's one of those things. Once the bad luck kind of gets shaken off, I think he'll be in a good spot. So, but yeah, so we are already 1 to go here. We're going to restart this thing with 61 to go, Andrew. So basically split in half, 32 laps. These guys can definitely make it from here 1 stop. Even the guys that stayed out can make it from here 1 stop. They just have to pit a little earlier. So yeah, so now it's going to be fun to see, though, comers and goers, tires versus fuel versus staying out. I mean, there's going to be kind of 3 different strategies that we'll see. And I think the first on tires will be Josh Ward in the 93, along with AJ Hobson and Charles Teed. Those guys do appear that they wound up taking tires on that pit stop.
Yeah, so Edson Santos should probably pull away initially with the lighter fuel and the already cycled through tires, but it's all going to kind of stack back up once again. So Edson Santos is underway. It looks like...
Oh, stack up there back.
Yeah, it looks like Baron Glover got a little bit loose. That might have held up some of the field there from third on backwards, but everyone gets away pretty cleanly. So we go into turn 1. Everyone in the field is very spread out right now.
Yeah, no, I think a little further back, there's definitely a big checkup right around like Mark Cohn, Jason Collins, Eric Peterson. Go, big crash off of 2 there.
I'm trying to find it myself, but I guess... See, Pahutsky was involved in that one.
We're going to take a look right now. So you see on the restart, Pahutsky's already got the inside. And is this just drivers going for the same real estate? Or again, maybe cold tire situation here. So we'll watch here. Again, I'll say, unfortunately, you never know when it's officially going to happen. But already I'm watching the stripes here. And so far, they both are kind of right on the seams there. Nothing too crazy. And yeah, honestly, to me, it kind of looks like the 5 comes down a little bit more than the 25 comes up. But just, yeah, unfortunately. Oh, man, I'm going to go back one more time, though, to watch this as well, because Craig Forsyth, he's going to have quite the view of this one. So we're going to hop on board here. We'll go full speed with Craig.
I'm not sure if Craig teleported through the whole entire way.
Oof, it was, yeah. Car looks okay, but yeah, it was definitely close. So unfortunate. Let's say these guys, again, pretty much the field now all staying out. We got a handful of guys just topping off, get that little extra fuel in. So not a lot of strategy here on this point. So Andrew, we're going to take a quick break, show off our wonderful sponsor of 4D Racewear. We'll be back here on the 1 to go, so stay tuned.
40 Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 40 racing shoes are engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, all the while giving you the comfort needed to complete those double and triple stints. Visit 40racewear.com and check out the latest sim racing products that let you connect to your sim.
All right, lights are off the pace car. Again, say definitely big thank you to Jim Herrick and the 40 Racewear guys. And say so we're focused on the first I think highest up 40 Racewear car I could find. That is Christopher in the 13 car in 8th. And Andrew, I can mention that Mason Mitchum got one of his 2 laps back, so he's only 1 down now. Both Casey Putski and Rick Sanchez both had to take a tow, unfortunately. And then a few drivers that did top off there are Gary Laverne and John Borst. But again, there's still 58 to go. So all they can really do at this point is just try to run it long and, again, maybe get a timely caution and maybe cycle way ahead of everybody else. So otherwise, pretty much no other pit stops under that cycle. So, yeah, not a lot changed there, obviously, with the caution. Just unfortunate, obviously, for Rick and Casey. I can tell you they're both back out on track. And I'm waiting for my timing scoring to update. I believe they're both now 2 down. Yeah, so the 5 and the 25 both trapped 2 down now at the moment with that.
I'm very intrigued to see some of these newer names here racing with the big guys. You got some new names even in the top 5. Frank Irwin Jr., Baron Glover. Josh Ward is still hanging in there. He's definitely shown his muscle today, so I think he is going to be a factor towards the end of this race, especially if he's able to kind of race cleanly around guys like Eric Schaus and Chris Stouffer and Charles Teed. So we'll see what happens here. We got about 57 laps to go, I believe.
Yep, 57 go at the line again. Still no drama. 1 stop to the end. Just about when that final stop might be. As we're watching a little further back, a little stack up there further back. It looks like everybody's been able to react accordingly as we get back to green here. Like Andrew said, 57 to go. Edson Santos now leading the way. And he's got a nice little gap here over Frank Irwin. And like you mentioned, right off the kick here, well, actually, no, there you go. Nick try to take a look at low, but then I think Frank had that draft off of Edson. And so Nick's going to have to regroup and try to get after it one more time here. And then this is the first car that did pit under the previous yellow, Eric Schaus. He's trying to work his way forward. And then again, the first with tires is going to be Josh Ward, like we mentioned. So he'll need a lap or 2 to get that heat in. But then from there, I think he'll definitely be benefiting. But, oh, Gary Laverne on pit road here. That's definitely not a scheduled one.
I'm wondering when Edson and Frank Irwin are going to pit, because if they have been out since lap 22, they're pretty close to the end of their life here. But I don't actually dislike this strategy, because if they pit now, they'll come out a lap down. This is similar to the Nick DeGroot situation. They'll come out with the lead pack and be able to draft and stay with them and kind of run similar fast lap times. But if they're able to save enough fuel behind the pack, they could possibly do a 40-lap stint here, but they need to go another at least 11 laps or so in order for that to happen.
Yeah, say with those 2 yellows, yeah, it definitely stretches their window out again. They all pitted around 50 to 51. And so, I mean, again, based on that rough number, so I would say they can probably go to at least lap 85, if not even lap 90. So, yeah, so I think they can pit with about, like you said, maybe about 30 or 35-ish to go. I think will probably realistically be that window. So it'll be just on the edge of the fuel window, but I think it shouldn't be too much drama. So it'll be fun to see. But you're mentioning, though, like for Frank Irwin Jr., how he was going to kind of get familiar with these guys, and looks like with no troubles at all. He's been kind of doing the swap draft there with Edson. And I mean, we've been watching him. We talked about him early. He's been making a lot of ground, and right now in the top 5, everybody's gained upwards of basically 12, 13 plus positions. Joe Branch is the odd man out in 6th, who's only gained 2 spots from his start. So I say again, with the way this race is, you can work your way forward, and that's what we're seeing out of the top 7 drivers.
Watching Gary Liver, I'm not sure if he wasn't trying to tack on to the front pack or not, but he lost even more spots. So now he's kind of sitting in the middle or kind of around where the 11th, 12th place car is. And realistically, he could have been going for kind of the lead run here. So he's rejoined a lap down, as we mentioned, because he took an untimely pit stop there. So let's see where he kind of sorts his way back in. He's kind of right back on the racing line again. But you could see that the top 10 here are all pretty close together, all kind of finding that clean air like we always talk about. And they're going to try their best to get some more spots, especially these guys that are right in front of Laverne.
Yeah, and you see Eric Peterson here. He's about 2 seconds back of these guys. So I think we're about to see here is, again, we're going to probably start to see that swap draft start to occur. And I think that's what Hugo's working on now with him. So we'll see if it sticks with Hugo and Eric, or do we see Matt Wagner or Craig Forsyth? Do we see them try to tag on and kind of like, hey, let us run the show? We've definitely been there, done that. But right now it looks like, I've looking at a lot of times, we'll kind of see how it continues. But basically what we've got is the top 13 are all together. Mark Cohn right now with Charles Teed. Those are last cars in this main pack. So I just looked up ahead there, and we had 3, almost 4 wide there with, who's that, Hobson, Schaus, and Joe Branch. So, and then now let's say again, add Josh Ward to the mix there. Same thing, keep that momentum built up top.
Eckert's starting to climb his way through as well, so he's made his way up to P10 right now. He was kind of lingering right at the back of that pack, but I think he's going to start making some moves forward. He's already gotten by Hobson. He's looking at Branch right now. You can see that even the way his behavior is going down the back straight, he wants to stay high, which he does right there. It looks like that'll work out for him as the cars push up the track and he gets a nice run down the front straight.
Yeah, I think I think Raphael's just kind of been cruising. Like I said, I think he hasn't I don't think he's shown his true pace. And we saw last week, he's definitely, to me, since I've got to see him race, here's 3 wide there. Oh, man, that's close there with Hobson there, as well as Josh Ward. But I feel like Raphael, he's a very good long-run driver. It seems like he can manage his tires the best of anybody on these long runs. And I don't know, again, that's more of if it's an abrasive wearing track. So if that's not happening tonight, like if the tires aren't really burning out, then that might be maybe hurting him a little bit. Whereas if it's an abrasive track, that's, I think, where we really see Raphael shine from my experience in broadcasting the races he's in.
AJ Hobson's doing AJ Hobson things and going for that low line. He wants to pick up a couple more spots. He went low, and now he's going low on Joe Branch. I don't think he's going to get the actual pass done here because Eckert's nice and high. Eckert touches the wall there, but actually Hobson has a great run through 3 and 4 there, picks up 3 spots.
Yeah, and I was worried, actually, I was about to mention I thought he entered too low, truthfully, where you kind of want to be able to have at least a little bit of an arc into that turn, and he almost entered from pretty much the bottom lane itself. But yeah, you can see, I mean, he is I had to roll out of it just a teeny bit there. I think got that arrow wash.
Loose.
But yeah, and that's the thing too at this track. So the typical, for me at least, is the quote unquote usual bottom line is kind of that first seam, but we're starting to see these guys actually run all the way to that white line. So because there is just a slight less bit of banking on that very, very bottom seam. So up front though, I mean, like I said, it's been Frank and Edson here. They've just been kind of doing the swap draft and doing a really good job of it here. And man, looking at Baron Glover, oh my gosh, these guys are starting to get a little tight.
I was just gonna say Stouffer really kind of put himself at a lot of risk there, especially with Eric Schaus getting the dirty air from the car in front, as well as Hobson pushing up from the bottom. So very brave move by Stouffer there, and it paid off, as now he's sitting right around P4, going for P3. And I mean, if you don't look out now, he may actually go for the lead if he still hugs his outside line.
Yeah, you can see he's going just that little lane higher. And yeah, I mean, look at the momentum he's getting built up top there. Just about a half a car length from getting around that number 20. But now he's going to go to the top. They're going to go 3 wide here for the lead.
reminds me a lot of what he did last week at Kansas, just rim riding that top line, which doesn't normally work in Michigan, just because of all the lanes towards the bottom that you could run that are just as fast. But it's working right now, especially because that's where all the clean air is, especially if nobody's up there to take it. He's going to take it.
No, exactly right. Yeah, if the opening's there, I mean, yeah, you'd be silly not to. I'm also, by kind of poking at the backpack, you'll see him pop in frame right there. Oh, one catch the wall Hobson, I think it was. Look, you see everybody darting around to make sure they don't get caught up in it. It looks like, I think he's going to get away with it. I think it's just kind of caught it a little bit, lost that bit of momentum, but it looks like, yeah, should be good to go from there. But they have switched positions now. It's Matt Wagner, Peterson. They're the two now that have been doing that swap draft, and it's been working. They've got it down to under about 2 seconds now. So last time by was a 32.96 for Peterson, 88 for Matt. Leaders are running in the low 33, so they gained a couple tenths there. And especially if they're going to go like this 3 wide, that's going to only help that second pack even more. So that second pack is loving what the leaders are doing right here, and they just gained a huge chunk of time there entering 3.
Stouffer just took the lead momentarily, but
3 wide again,
right on the bottom. He did catch a little bit of the apron entering turn 3 there, which probably slowed him down a little bit and gave Edson quite a run to go right back. But looks like Stouffer wants this lead. You can easily tell by how he's driving. He was riding high. Now he's kind of riding the low line. Here comes Eckert to try and join his teammate up front.
Yeah, I say Raphael right there, just on the entry, went from about 4th to 1st there. And yeah, now these teammates run 1-2. And again, I mean, look at where we are in the run. This is getting a little bit further into that window. Again, not quite in the fuel window to make it to the end. But again, he just seems to be so good at saving those tires and being able to really go after them. But as soon as I say that, you can see everybody reacted to it and said, all right, hold on a second. And then you see, again, Edson and Chris get back by. You saw Frank try to get by for a second. We're just 3 wide here right behind there with who's that? Joe Branch, along with AJ Hobson and Josh Ward. And then now throw Baron Glover into that 3 wide mix. It doesn't matter where you are. There's something happening in this front pack. And like I said, while they've been fighting, it's just into that magic 1.5 second window for Matt Wagner, Eric Peterson. So we're about to have a lead pack draft of about 23 cars again.
That turn 3 or exit of turn 3 into turn 4 is really proving difficult. Like, you basically turn into turn 3 and just hope that you get some sort of clean air on your wing, because especially around 5th on back, they're having a hard time getting through 3 and 4 without having some sort of push situation. So we saw a lot of close calls in the last few laps, especially with guys that are trying to go around the outside and find the clean air. It's almost too much clean air that they pass like 2 or 3 guys right around the outside.
So up front, seems like it's started to settle in now a little bit with Chris and Edson taking the point. And again, do need to mention, again, on the pit stop side of things, Stouffer pitted at 62, Edson Santos at 50, Eckert 62, Frank Irwin Jr. at 50. So again, I mean, that's about a 10-lap difference. Of course, again, you can go fuel map 8 Unreal. You save a ton of fuel, but there's still going to be a fair bit of difference, though, lap-wise between them. So that's going to be the next question is, yeah, when do we see these guys blink that pitted at 50? Again, based on the numbers, we think they can probably go to probably about lap 90, which is actually, I mean, looking at the numbers now, I mean, that's in the next 2 to 3 laps here. So we may start to see some guys start to have to peel off for some green flag stops here very, very shortly here, Andrew.
Yeah, well, we did have some of those yellows in there, but that you're right in the sense that it's really 33, 34 under green, which these guys have been running full tilt up front. So I think that probably around 91, 92 is what my prediction is, that we'll start seeing Edson, Frank, and Nick DeGroot come down.
Yeah, I just saw Casey Putsky, Rick Sanchez. They both just hit pit road right now. So I'm not sure if scheduled or not for those guys. And say, again, we'll try to keep an eye. But yeah, you're right, though. I'm watching these cars out of 3 and 4 and definitely starting to wash up a little bit. And you can see now Matt Wagner, he's gotten up to this mix with these guys, again, with Peterson doing that swap draft and get up there. So now in this main pack, we do have about 21, 23 cars basically in this main pack here. So they did the hard work. They're able to get back up there. And so now they got to figure out, okay, are we just going to sit and ride, or are we going to try to keep this momentum going and try to get as far forward as we can before these potential pit stops?
Well, right now, at this point,
Frank Irwin.
Yeah,
well, there's
so
your green flag pit stop. That was
there's one right there.
Yeah, that was lap 15, and say I think right there he was being too kind and that almost really hurt himself, unfortunately. So we talked about that getting in pit road, getting as much as you can. That's going to be one of those ones that's going to unfortunately cost him probably a couple seconds at least, which again could be a make or break of where he rejoins on track. So it is pretty spread out, so I do think he'll be able to rejoin in the main pack, just maybe the further back part of it. But I think here comes Edson.
So it looks like round 91, 92 is the way to go. But
Marcone.
I actually almost wonder if some of these other league cars are going to also just come in and do their last pit stop and get it done and over with, especially because
I couldn't. I wouldn't. I'd be too afraid to get trapped a lap down. Unfortunately, we did see their Mark just a little too hot, so he's gonna have to try to limp this thing around. Hopefully, he won't run out of fuel in the process. So we'll keep an eye on him. So now the last couple of guys that are gonna have to pit are this guy right here, Nick DeGroot, Baron Glover. I think Baron. Yep, here he comes. So Nick's doing a good field job of saying that. Not surprised. That looks a little too hot for Baron. We'll keep an eye and see. But I think that might be a little bit too fast on entry for Baron there.
Yeah, I get what you mean and everything, but if everybody else is pitting and these guys are definitely fast, why not just split your pit stop into two here? So I'm not saying that they're coming in right now, but I'd say before lap 100, you're going to probably see a handful of some of these leaders come down and do their last stop. Just to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, no, here comes DeGroot for his. And I think the best person we'll be able to watch is going to be probably Edson, to see where he's merged out and see what his pace is, because right now I think he's one of the few that got out with everybody. And you see, yeah, here he is working the top side right now, trying to get what he can. You see right there was, I think that was Baron Glover that just left pit road. And so, yeah, right now he's, big wiggle there towards the back there. I think that was Jason Cald's Nick Wheeler having a bit of a moment. But yeah, right now we'll say we'll see what kind of gains though Edson can make, because again, if he's just trapped in dirty air, it may not be as big of a gain as we might think it is.
It looks like Nick Wheeler had a lot of overspeed there, and Jason popped out a little bit, and there was some contact there, and Wheeler lost part of his front wing. I wonder if there's any damage to Jason's rear wing. We'll have to see if he keeps pace with the pack, but that would be an almost instant pit stop if I were Jason, especially being hit in the rear like that.
Yeah, so we saw the 88 definitely in. Looks like Jason's okay. I think he's gotten away with it, although I think he's going to respond. Yeah, here he comes. He is going to hit pit road, as is Craig Forsyth, AJ Hobson. So here you go. The guys that could go further, but like you said, they decide, you know what, we're going to come in a little earlier. So yeah, so now we're starting to get that mixed strategy here of when do you want to come in for that final stop. So some guys are going to try to run it long. Some guys are trying to short pit. Again, looking at the numbers here, probably realistically, we're going to have everybody here in probably the next 5, I'd say at most 10 laps.
Here comes Mark Murphy. I believe he's going to get woe down in time.
That looked like a nice clean stop there. And so what we're going to watch soon is going to be where Edson comes out in relation to some of these guys. And right now, like you mentioned that short pit, Edson's clearly ahead of me. Here's Craig just building up speed. Edson's going to get probably a second and a half on Craig. So it's going to be very interesting to see where everybody cycles out around with one another. I'm waiting for, Stouffer's going to be the one I want to watch right here because he's pitting from the very front.
That was a very nice entry. I just thought he was going to kind of blow that entry cone there, but it looks like he got it stopped perfectly in time.
And didn't mention Frank Irwin did speed on entry, unfortunately, in the 44.
Yeah, so I think that Stouffer is probably going to come out a little bit behind where Santos was, just because Santos is going to have the beauty of fresh tires and the draft 12 cars around him.
Yeah,
so
it looks like
Stouffer's going to lose out a little bit.
I think Raphael's kind of signaling he's hitting pit road. Up here he comes. He's going to bring Peterson along with him. Oops, we'll get the right car eventually. Looks like nice stops for the both of them as well. So, yeah, now we're going to jump back to Edson because I want to see, like you said, where is he going to cycle out in relation to Stouffer? Right now, I'm going to say Stouffer. Actually, I think Stouffer's going to net the spot on him because there's Edson right in front of that car there. Now they're nose to tail here. So Yeah, so Stouffer's going to come out here ahead of Edson. Again, fresher tires now, a little cold still, but fresher tires. Here comes Matt Wagner on pit road. So right now, advantage, I'd say, to Stouffer.
So I think that a lot of that has to do with because everybody is starting to peel off now. The pack is starting to break up a little bit. So Edson didn't really have necessarily enough people to get the draft off of with the fresh tires. So instead of coming out with a big pack of people, he probably came out with just maybe 1 or 2 cars a few seconds ahead of him, and he couldn't get the speed in order to do so. Either that or Edson might have been a little bit more conservative on pit entry or something of that nature that allowed him to kind of fall back a little bit. But Stouffer, like we mentioned on his pit in, it was like the perfect braking mechanism where I thought he might actually blow the stop, because as you see, Stouffer and Edson are both starting to come by Matt Wagner here. So Wagner's obviously going to fall back a little bit. So
and then actually Raphael Eckert too, he actually jumped all of them too. So he's now actually leading of those that pitted. So right now that 64 car is well, I was going to say the net leader. Now he's actually tailing the lead lap doing this, getting around Josh Schwartz. So right now you've got kind of a mixed bag of strategies here. These guys are battling for the net lead of the race while also getting their lap back. So we still have a few drivers that have really are just trying to stretch this thing out. So Josh Ward, Eric Schaus, John Borst, Elmer Joseph, they're just basically running this thing as long as they can. Again, right now there's drivers that are definitely that have unlapped themselves, but again, they could trap a lot of these guys a little further back, a lap down, and then if there's something that happens in between these pit stop cycles, that could really benefit them. So here comes Josh. That's a nice entry to me. He was able to get it low down. I mean, he probably gave up a teeny bit of time, but just the getting off the apron onto the flat, that looked very, very clean.
So Eric Schaus is the only car left in this front pack here that has to pit. And that means that anybody ahead of Eric Schaus, should a caution come out, gets all that track position back. So good on Stouffer and Eckert in order to jump the leader a little bit using their fresh tires to come all the way back up. I think Schaus is coming in now, so I think that's pretty much everybody. So now everybody's on the same strategy. If a caution comes out, everybody that's all the way at the quote-unquote back here will get their track position back and fall all the way back.
Yep, so
all the way back to the leaders.
So there goes Raphael. I'm watching to see. Here comes Josh Ward. He's exiting pit road as we speak. I think he's going to tag on right with Peterson and DeGroot. And then also, do you mention John Borst? He is on pit road now too. So he was one of the other ones that ran as far as he could. So yeah, so this now officially completes the pit stop cycles. From now to this point, now everybody here can make it to the end, no dramas, unless they underfilled their car. Hopefully not. But yes, I mean, again, great job by these drivers too. I mean, because look at this, Andrew. We've got what it looks like gonna have about 11 cars here. If Joe can kind of grab these guys, there could be about 10, 11 cars here going for the win here, should things stay the way they are here. Oh, but it's getting dicey. I just saw Craig make some big moves there.
Yeah, no, I was watching Eric Schaus blend back, and he kind of blended directly in front of Josh Ward, and that was a little bit of a scary moment there. But it looks like we got 12 cars, actually. It looks like that, with Eric Schaus joining the mix now that are in this, and he's towing alone Joe Branch, which makes it another. All right, yeah,
looks like 11 on the dot.
11 cars, yeah.
Oh, Hugo was so close. He was going for it. I could see too. He was chasing the cars down, trying to find the draft. So what he's going to have to wait for is hopefully AJ Hobson can catch him pretty quick, and they can leapfrog themselves back up there, because I don't think we're going to see as much nice leapfrogging anymore. I think these guys eventually are going to start to get greedy. Again, we still got plenty of time to go. But again, do need to mention on the IndyCar series, there are no green-white checkered attempts. Oh, man, you saw right there, Mark Murphy try to work the outside there, and it just got a face full of dirty air there off of Raphael. And yeah, Joe Branch that last time by getting the draft and catching back up. He ran the fastest lap of the race, 32.45. Leaders were in the 33.0, so that just shows, again, how much tow can do for your lap times.
Well, I know you're going to ask me this question, should a caution come out about pitting or not, but I think we saw the answer to that question with the Edson and Frank Irwin situation last time around, that the old tires don't mean too much in terms of pace here. So if we do have a late race caution, everybody's going to stay out. You're going to see maybe some folks around 11, 12, 13 just pit and probably bring the rest of the field with them just to do something a little bit different from the cars ahead. But the leaders will all stay out if any caution comes out between now and the end of the race.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. And so that's the thing, too. I mean, obviously at this point, we know there's going to be restarts, but once you get to about that 3 laps to go, you know that that's probably going to be it. So there's not one of those, hey, I can make a last lap pass attempt because if there's the yellow before the one to go, we know we have a restart. This is now, again, with this being a bigger track, though, you know it's a quick yellow. So I want to say it's 3 to go might be the magic number. But, yeah, it's all kicking off now. I was going to mention for Mark Murphy, he'd been kind of he was leading up front there early with he and Matt Wagner. Then he kind of fell back to, I would say, almost mid-packish, if you will. And then now when it's time to go for it all, he's starting to put himself back into the mix here. And then, man, again, I just got to give a shout out to Josh Ward. I mean, he has been on it tonight. And he is also, I think, he and Eric Schaus have, Matt Wagner may have caught the wall off too there.
Actually, I think Schaus may have scared him off the line a little bit, and Wagner kind of panicked and may have opened the wheel up a little bit. That's what it looked like to me. I don't think anybody touched any wall or anything there, but that was definitely a very, very close moment, and Joe Branch was definitely the benefactor there. He picked up 4 spots in one corner.
That's always something that's nice to have. But yeah, I'm looking at pit stop laps though. So yeah, Josh Ward pitting at 102, Schaus 103, Joe Branch at lap 100. Again, it's not a lot, but still about 5+ lap fresher tires for those guys. So we'll see if that comes into play at all or not. But like we talked about, though, I think for all those guys in the window they're in, I don't think this setup and track is too abrasive for these guys. So I think what we're going to see is, again, just these guys are going to just try to fight for any clean air they can find and see who's going to be able to come out on top. But I'm just watching this Nick fella. I think he hasn't had the race he's been hoping for, but I think he's just plodding right now. I think he's waiting to figure out when he wants to really kind of crack the whip and try to make a move and maybe catch these guys off guard. Or maybe he's having to fuel save a little bit, because then he pitted at 93. Edson was 91. I mean, that's what almost... No, that's going to be 30. Sorry. I was trying to do quick math and it wasn't going well. So yeah, so they should be good to go.
Good.
I was about to say 40. I was like, no, that's if it's 130.
So, I mean, Nick is running out of time here. Let's just call a spade a spade. Nick has been able to drive forward on these kinds of races, but look at this, all the drivers ahead of them. All these drivers are potential race winners. And as you can see, as they enter turn 4 here, the whole track is blocked. So if Nick is going to plot and make moves, he needs to do it right now, because he will wind up all the way outside the top 10 if he doesn't start really making any moves right now. So I almost want to say Nick is probably out of the chance for a win here without a caution or anything like that. Even some of the guys in outside the top 6 or so, it really does seem like Stouffer and who's that with him?
Eckert, yeah.
Yeah. Stouffer and Eckert are the 2 cars that are really going for it right now. And I know I always sing Chris Stouffer's praises, but Michigan is one of his favorite tracks. So I think Chris knows how to get it done here. So I think he's the one that's plotting to figure out where he has to make a move to win this race.
Yeah, and that's true too, is right now we've been focusing kind of mid-pack, and like we've talked about too, when you're the top 2, it's really hard for that 3rd and 4th place cars to be able to kind of jump that little bubble, if you will, to get into those top 2 spots. We've seen a few times it's happened, but the one that's really been kind of pushing now lately is that 72 we talk about that has the freshest tires of these guys, Eric Schaus, and we know he's no stranger to make some big moves to try to get up there. So I think Eric Newsman, as I was watching Craig make the move to go 3 wide there to try to take the point, as we were saying that. But I was saying, it's like Craig just did what we talked about, though, trying to break that bubble of the top 2, if you will. And you can see now, is it time to play defense here? Craig's rolling the bottom here, trying to protect that inside here. Is that too soon, or do you think that's where they need to be?
I think it's just posturing to see what you got to do come 3-4 laps to go. And I mean, it works for now, but you're just going to burn up all your stuff towards the end of the race. So it's probably smart on Craig to try it and see what kind of thing it does. If it doesn't really work out, then you can try something a little different later. But also you have to realize that once you're down there, then it's very, very tough to get back to the top again.
Yeah, he just squeezed in there.
Back to the top now, but that does not always happen. There was a little contact last lap with Eric Peterson and Joe Branch entering turn 1, but they got away with it. I think Branch might have touched the wall a little bit, but these guys are really going for it right now. So I hope it goes green for the next 9 laps, but who knows?
Yeah, same here. This has been a great balance, and I gotta apologize if you're trying to watch where the other guys are on 12th on back, but this is, oh no, a little bit of contact there, Stouffer and Eckert. I don't know how Stouffer held onto that car.
I'm watching every lap through turn 4. I kind of hold my breath a little bit because these cars are really starting to push, especially if you watch Forsyth, especially on the bottom there. Just watch, he goes from bottom right to top, and if there's any sort of dirty air on that bottom line with him, he's toast. So it gets very, very tight, especially if you miss the bottom and you're trying to catch the car on the way up. It gets very, very sketchy. So that's what's going to cause. Wow, that was close with
Oh,
Murphy.
that's
I don't.
twice now that.
Wow, that was very close.
Yeah, I mean, the last lap it was Stouffer and Eckert. This time it was Murphy and Eckert. I honestly, I don't know how both times somehow we get away with it. And you're right, though. I just saw right there, Peterson, I think, may have just kind of grabbed the wall a little bit off of 4. You're right, though. These guys are really having some struggles getting out of turn 4s. Again, 3 wide for the point. You got Stouffer, Eckert, Forsyth. And now look at Craig there getting a lot of dirty air there. And yeah, we got a couple cars up in front of them. I see the 39 is in that mix. And I'm trying to see.
Oh, Stouffer!
No. Caution is out. Eckert's involved. I think Craig Forsyth was involved. So that's going to bring out the yellow. We got 7 to go, so we will still have a race for the win here. But you can see the 64 going to try to get it back to pit road. Craig Forsyth, yeah, straight to pit road here. He's going to get that car repaired. Honestly, for Craig, I would have tried to go one more lap to pit just normal under green. But yeah, that's unfortunate though for them. So let's go back though, because I mean, again, these guys were going tooth and nail here. And yeah, I was kind of actually trying to peek to see who was where with all this. So let's take another look as we were coming out of 2. And there's the 48 and 39 up ahead of them. Oh, is this trying to make, well, you see Stouffer there in the middle.
Yeah, unfortunately, so it looks like Eckert is just kind of riding the wall there, and Stouffer just slowly starts to move to the right. And I honestly take that as Eckert got a little bit of a moment where he had to kind of do something, hit the brake, turn the wheel, and unfortunately Forsyth was on the inside there. So I've been in that situation many times where I'm like, okay, here's my outside line in order for me to continue driving straight. And then suddenly the car that is kind of riding both lanes just slowly moves and in an unpredictable way when I have a little bit more speed. And next thing you know, there's contact there. So I don't put that incident on any one person in particular. That definitely seemed like something that was just kind of unfortunate that there wasn't a little bit more awareness there. I know Stouffer was trying to kind of just decide what line he wanted to take, but he needs to be a little bit more decisive there, I think, in order to not create any confusion behind him.
Yeah, and that's and I'm showing that in super slow mo again. These guys in the car, I mean, this stuff's happening super quick. So you saw the 8 car Steve Rado, that's going to get him, I believe, back on the lead lap. Yeah, it will. And then just like you mentioned as well, Andrew, for the pit stop strategy, Nick Wheeler, he went ahead and hit pit road, and so obviously there's a few guys that had some damage as well. So Rafael Eckert was one of those. But yeah, so pretty much from 18th on back, said, you know what, just we got tires, let's throw them on here, see what it does. So it's probably worth the gamble. They'll be cold, but they'll have some decent wear. But again, they're hoping it's like, okay, just go green, let's get to the white so we can just see if we can do anything with these tires. So yeah, so now we're gonna rack them up here. I think we're gonna restart this thing with 3 to go. And again, basically at this point, though, if there's another yellow after this restart, that's going to be an unfortunate finish under yellow. But yeah, that's unfortunate. Say they were going after. Let's say there was lots of moves being made, and again, just it's all happening so fast. These guys are going 220, 230 probably, and it's split second decisions. And yeah, it's unfortunate those things do happen.
You kind of want to expect that the guys that are going down the straightaway are kind of driving in a line that's decisive and permanent and something you can predict. And unfortunately when someone kind of just gradually slides in a different way. It's very unpredictable. You're kind of watching more of the car than watching what your line is, and then when that changes, that unfortunately just causes any sort of jerk reaction. And when you're side by side, there's absolutely no way that you could save that.
Yeah, there's nowhere for you to go. So yeah, so lights are off here. So again, the way it works is leader has control, single file restart. And so again, this is now for Chris here. I mean, when you're in this position, Andrew, if you have a late restart, do you try to go early? Do you go late? Because again, you've got control here with the pace car. As soon as it's off, you can jump as early or late as you want. As soon as it's in off of the racing surface onto pit road. So, I mean, what's your thought here? I mean, do you try to do something that catches them off guard, or I mean, there's
That's
a lot, or do you overthink it?
You be as unpredictable as humanly possible to throw people off. So almost like if you're one of those drivers who sits like 6th or 7th in the race and then you find yourself in the lead, you try and remember what everyone did before, because that's probably what everyone will be thinking. Is like, okay, count to 2 after the pace car goes off and go. But if you want to slow it down and really kind of make people anticipate it and go, if for me, I just want to go right away. The closest you can from getting a black flag, and then just everyone's kind of, oh no, and then and that trickles all the way back.
Yeah, it looks like he's gonna definitely be waiting a lot longer, and said that's gonna be at the risk of the accordion effect, and that's exactly what we're gonna get. Multiple cars up and over. That's gonna be a quick yellow, and unfortunately, I think that will most likely do. You can see everybody else in the back trying to react. And I think, and I didn't want to say it, but I was going to have the suggestion of, if you do decide to do that late restart, that's going to get those guys behind you antsy, try to jump it. And I think that may have been what we just saw there.
Yeah, it looks like Branch was the one who got hit. And then, yeah, it was Branch that had the initial contact. But wow, if you want to replay, look at Jason Collins trying to avoid all of that.
Focus on Jason here. Well, first we'll find the stack up here, because I think unfortunately Peterson and
screen there, it's Branch.
So you can see all these guys trying to get rolling, and then yeah, it was right in this little court. You see Hobson there, and then yeah, like you mentioned, oh yeah, right there. They try to stagger off. Just there's nothing like yeah. Not much they can do. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, let's go over to Jason Collins. Yeah, let's get a better look at him here. Actually, let's hop on the roof here. Oh, my goodness. That's not what you want to see. Goes left of one, goes in between the other, and then grabs another one. I mean, you never want it to end like that, but he's thinking, hey, thanks for the spots. And so, yeah, but then unfortunately, you see all these other guys. I mean, it sucks to go 122 laps and then for that to happen.
Looked very seamless from Collins' point of view. Just, oh, this car's flying. I'll just kind of slowly turn my wheel over here and pass everybody.
So, yeah, what you'll see here, though, is the white flag is going to come out at the line here. So, again, this will unfortunately finish under yellow. And so, yeah, what we're going to have is our top 3 are going to be Chris Stouffer, Eric Schaus, and Josh Ward. Then Mark Murphy, Matt Wagner continue their top 5 streaks as well. So, that's going to be 3 top 5s in a row for both of them. So great job by those guys. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, some of the guys that snuck through there at the end, Jason Collins, he's going to jump up to 7th after that. And then, yeah, a few other guys benefiting from it. But unfortunately, the ones that got the worst end of it are these guys here on pit road. Obviously, Craig from the earlier incident, then Peterson, Joe Brach, Edson Santos, AJ Hobson. Just not how you wanted to finish the night, unfortunately. And that's, again, I mean, it's the end of the race. Everybody's going to get a little bit more antsy than probably usual on the restarts. And again, we talked about being the unpredictable. We saw lots of early restarts during the race. This one, he went late. Again, it's his prerogative. As long as he's holding a steady speed, that's all he needs to do, and then just fire off whenever he wants to. So, and that was kind of what I was going to say. If it was my strategy, that's what I would have done. But I also didn't want to say it before it potentially happened. So,
so it looked like it was Branch, it was DeGroot, Hobson, Elmer Joseph, Hugo Gallas got taken out there. So it was about 7 cars that were collected and unfortunately DNF there.
Yeah, so DeGroot's gonna still grind up with the top 10 there, 9th. I say he's missing the front section of his wing, but Coming to the line here, it's going to be Christopher getting the win here at Michigan. Eric Schaus, Josh Ward. Again, we talked about our top 3. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm going to say again, for about 30 cars, pretty good race, truthfully. I mean, I'm going to say actually we had less cautions tonight than we have had in some of the other ones at this track with a smaller field even. So there was some great racing. We got green flag pit stop in. I mean, as a whole, I'm going to say again, the ending's kind of a bummer, but the whole race overall, though, what a good race. I thought that was an exciting start to finish there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just obsessed with this restart, trying to figure out what went wrong. And necessarily, it looked like I think the green came out and Stouffer had not moved yet. Is basically what I can deduce here. So it's not even really an accordion situation. It's that people that were sitting in around the Joe Branch, Nick DeGroot area were just like, okay, the green's out. We should be going now. And unfortunately, if there's any hesitation from anybody that's right ahead of Peterson there, that's just gonna spell trouble for anyone that's like, okay, we're green, we should be moving.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not what you want to have. So let's say, well, that's not for us to figure out, but I say we got to go with what we have on the thing. So we'll let them figure that out. So what we have as our results, though, are going to be right here with Christopher over Eric Schaus, Josh Ward, Mark Murphy. You got Matt Wagner as well in the top 5. Then Charles Teed, Jason Collins, Jeff Heisong, Nick DeGroot, and Baron Glover are top 10. Then John Borst, Nick Wheeler, Rafael Eckert, Mark Cohn, Joseph Morales in the top 15. And then carrying on down, that includes their Shane Coker, Hugo Galaz, Steve Rada getting back in the lead lap to grab that 18th. Elmer Joseph, Mason Mitchum getting back in the lead lap. Unfortunately, right at the very end, didn't get a chance to restart with that, with the lead lap again, though. But really props to him for sticking out the whole way through. And then again, that late caution there at the end, dropping a number of guys their laps down, including Gary Laverne, Frank Irwin, Peterson, Hobson, Joe Branch, Edson Santos, and then early retirements there with Craig Forsyth for the previous yellow, and then Casey Pahutsky and Rick Sanchez, unfortunately, there being 28th and 29th. All right, Andrew, we got to find some drivers to chat with. First is going to be if we can hunt down a Josh Ward, and I have just found him. So we are going to jump back to him. So we're going back to that restart here that we can actually see the car for a little bit of time. All right, here's Josh Ward in that number 92. So we're going to pull him on in over here, Andrew. And so Josh, 22 spots gained, grabbed the podium tonight. Obviously got a little wild there at the end, but I mean, we were talking about some of the, kind of the new names, new faces of the league. And I'm guessing probably not new for you running these cars, because I mean, you were in it, like in the thick of it, pretty much start to finish tonight. Starting in the back, obviously, Andrew and I mentioned the one lap of qualifying versus the normal 2, maybe caught a few off guard. So we'll start with that. Did the single lap kind of throw off your qualifying plans there tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I came around and took the checker, but honestly, like if there's a track to do it, it's this one. And I kind of liked having a pit box at the very beginning of pit road, so I think it ended up being an advantage.
So in terms of what you said, I'll piggyback on there. Is this kind of one of those tracks that you favor? Do you favor these large kind of super speedways, or you find yourself more tuned to something that's a smaller track? Or do you like the strategy of trying to manipulate where you are in track compared to everyone else?
I like tracks that you can run a lot of lanes. I've really only been in Indy cars for like 6, 8 months, something like that. But I've got 9 or 10 years of NASCAR, mostly Gen 4 experience. So I kind of like that style of racing where you get a lot of places to run on the track. Iowa here, a couple other places. Rockingham was cool. So yeah, just anywhere you can open up the track.
Do you find it more difficult on a track like this to find the clean air? Because especially in turn 3 and 4, when we were watching during the race, that seemed to be the side of the track that most of the cars were struggling on. So in terms of your NASCAR background and everything, how do you compare where you want to put yourself on the track every lap, and is it different every lap based on what other people are doing around you?
Yeah, it seemed 3 and 4 the cars were just tightening up really bad out of four, so you really had to lift. But as long as you got out of it before the midpoint of the corner, you were pretty much okay. But yeah, I just kind of like running all over the place. I mean, it felt like it took a couple lap or at least a full lap to kind of develop a full run and really be methodical about it and try to get around somebody. But once you got up to third or fourth place, it was I just got kind of stuck there, which is where I ran most of the night. But yeah, just being methodical with the moves.
Wow, we definitely saw. I mean, you were definitely up there dicing up. It was a lot of fun watching you guys kind of run top, run bottom, run middle, try to figure out just basically take the momentum where it took you. It was really exciting to watch. I mean, Andrew and I kind of noted it seemed like initially everybody kind of just migrated to the top, just kind of keep the momentum up, maybe even, and then just whatever reason after 10, 15 laps, and it started to kind of just jump around everywhere. Was Did you feel the same behind the wheel of your side as well, or does it just kind of, yeah? I mean, how was the strategy of kind of positioning your car as well?
I mean, for me, I kind of like to be more offensive than defensive. The top was a really defensive line, and with this particular configuration, setup, and weather and everything. Because I mean, once you got down to the bottom, unless you had a car or two gap where you could kind of slide job the guy, you couldn't really get around him. But I kind of liked that bottom line that was a little less banked. I felt like the car would kind of kick around a little bit more and just modulate the throttle. And if you timed it right, you could kind of slide your car in there and worked out a bunch to get up to the front. But once you get to the front, it's just kind of stall out and hope the leaders make a mistake.
Well, it was a hell of a run tonight, man. I said getting the 22 spots, and saying, like you said, I mean, and also just for getting into these things for not that long, really, really impressive. I say you were dicing up there with some of our top running regulars, so very impressive. So definitely big props there as well. So before we let you go, though, as always, definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shout outs for that podium tonight.
Yeah, appreciate these guys putting on the league. You guys putting on the broadcast. Shane, he's got his own league, and that's starting up pretty soon on Wednesday night. So I'll be over there as well. But just everyone racing. It's IndyCar. One of the reasons I'm over here is it's a better culture, if you will. People seem a bit friendlier, a bit more respectful, and you're gonna run into each other sometimes. It's a racetrack, but seems like a good group of people to race around.
Well, awesome job tonight, man. Go enjoy this one, and definitely look forward to seeing you on track again here soon.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, so that is Josh Ward. We're gonna jump one spot higher. That's gonna be this Eric Schaus fella. I'll say he's had a lot going on over the past couple of months. I'm not sure if you're aware, Andrew. I mean, it's been a little over a year ago. Had some kids show up for some reason, move houses, move states, move everything, and finally get back to racing regularly here, Eric. And say it looked like the Eric Schaus that we were used to seeing, kind of dicing it up, making the big moves. And I'm guessing you would have loved to see that thing go green for a couple laps to at the end there to try to be able to put a move on Stouffer, because to me at least those last laps on the restart especially, that's where the leader is always kind of the most susceptible. Did you have a plan set up in mind, or I mean, what was the thought on your side there going into that final restart?
Go fast. Right foot to the floor. Send it. Whatever it took. Yeah, I would have liked it to go green, but I'm happy with a second too. I mean, all those other life things going on. I don't know who thought that stuff was a good idea, but here I am back racing. So happy to be here.
I want to ask you how much fun you had coming from wherever your P last starting spot was, because we noticed that some of the better guys in the league were kind of mired down in the pack, and I kind of called it at the start of the race that you and Charles and I believe it was Nick were all going to move forward. So was it difficult to move forward in the race? Is that what your plan was? Did you kind of want to just see how the race played out, or was your goal to just get as many cars as you can and kind of pretend you were doing some sort of video game?
Yeah, so actually a couple of us missed the memo that it was only a single lap for qualifying. So a lot of us were running the rim, setting up for our second lap and never got it. So that's why a lot of us started in the back. But from there, it's fun. There's a track you can pass on and drive around people. And I really liked this set. I found a real sweet spot for it. So after about 10 laps, I was saving fuel for the first 10 laps just to get a feel for things. And then after that, I was able to just make my way up to the front, a couple cars at a time. And it was a lot of fun.
No, it looked like a good time. I mean, we were talking to Josh. I mean, you guys were, everybody was everywhere. Any momentum you get, you try to make the run. And of course, then that risk reward of getting pinned to the inside potentially. And there was a lot happening in very, very quick succession there. And it was, it was a lot of fun watching you guys go after it. And then also, I think you were the latest driver to pit under that green flag window, to hit pit road, get tires, and come out with that main pack. Were the hopes that, okay, maybe I'll have slightly fresher tires and I can make use of them, or was it just the kind of the, well, let's see if there's maybe a yellow and I can trap a whole bunch of guys down a lap, and was that maybe the reason to run long there?
Yeah, well, it's both. I decided not to take tires on one of the pit stops, just because my tires felt good. I didn't think I had a huge amount of wear on them. Felt quick out here, so I felt like, I was running map 5 for a lot of the race and was able to keep up with the front pack. So I figured with worn tires in map 1, I can hang with everybody and I'd be okay. So I saved a set just in case we had like a lap 15 caution or something like that. I can maybe take a fresh set and then just drive through the field. But that never played out. So other than that, it was just, longer I can go, the better chance there's a caution during the pit window and I can maybe trap some people.
Wow, it was a hell of a job tonight, Eric. Like I said, it's always fun to see you back out on track, and figured it's only a matter of time before he got you back on the podium. So definitely happy to see you up here and running well again, and hopefully get you kind of full time. I know you're still busy dadding because that wife of yours likes to do some crazy work hours. But before we let you go, as always, though, want to give you the chance for any thanks and shouts for that runner up tonight.
Yeah, thanks. Hopefully, dusted off the rust on the first 2 races here, so I hope to be up front more often now, and hopefully doing the rest of the season. Anyways, congrats to Stouffer on his win, and to Ward on the podium, and thanks to you guys for the broadcast, and thanks to Area 51 and everybody that comes out and races.
All right, man. Great job tonight, Eric. Look forward to seeing you again soon. And yeah, I'll say go enjoy the little one.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
All right, so we're gonna bring in our race winner. I hear you know a certain thing or two about this fella, this Christopher guy who's gonna get the win tonight. And so, I'm looking at the qualifying spot. Looks like he qualified 5th. So I think Andrew, right off the bat, Chris, you were aware of the 1 lap qualifying snafu, I guess you could call it, to not start way in the back tonight.
Yeah, luckily Matt said something right before we went out to qualify, or else I would have not known. So I'm glad that he did that, and yeah, I heard that, and so yep.
All right. Well, I mentioned during the broadcast that this is a Christopher track. This and Homestead are your 2 favorite places to race. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you get around here?
You go fast, turn left, and find clean air. I would say those are, the clean air is the king. Just trying to find clean air on your nose. I don't think Homestead, I think, can drop down the list a little bit after the race a couple weeks ago. I've figured out how to burn my tires off pretty good there. So I got to relearn that track, but still got this one down pretty well. Like I said, it was just throughout the race. At one point, I was trying to save as much fuel as possible and just stretch it out that way and take less fuel at the end. And then we had a couple of cautions. Then it went back into a fuel save race, and then at one point, it just became, flat out to the end. So throughout the race, I just kind of raced the race, depending on what I needed to do at the time, and when it was when we could make it on when we're all on the same strategy. I decided, it's time to go and try to keep it up front as much as I could. And so, yeah.
One of the things that I noticed going from last week to this week is at Kansas, you had that unfortunate incident on lap 1 there with Forsyth that put you back. And we noticed that when you were lapped down, you were doing a lot of the rim riding around Kansas, which is obviously the thing to do around there, especially because that's where the progressive banking kind of helps you turn your car a little bit easier around both 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But it all almost seemed tonight that it was kind of the same kind of thing. Like you were kind of staying towards the top, and you were making a lot of progress from, let's say, the bottom of the top 10, and then you found yourself battling for the lead right before that pit stop that Edson and Frank had to take there. So even though there's what, like 4 lanes to race here, is that still the optimal line to take, just riding around the outside and trying to get the best advantage that way, focusing more on your exit speed than your entry speed?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of it has to do with what the cars in front of you are doing. But it's you can carry more speed up high, and especially if you can get some clean air on the nose and keep your foot in the gas or the throttle. And you can turn that into a big run going down the front or back stretch. I know we did a lot of swapping the night, stuff like that. So, um, in the big packs, I do like being up high. I feel like, I just, you don't have that, that you drift out towards the wall and you have to worry about a car being out there. On the flip side though, being up high, you got to worry about that car down low coming up and just a little bit too high or net code or anything like that, as we can get on iRacing. But I enjoy these tracks where we have multiple lines like Homestead here. I always Pocono I think is my favorite, but this is one of these races. I said to the guys, when they're congratulating me in the race, I said, this is one of those I would like to say I'd like to race it out under green, but I'll take it under yellow just because it's Michigan. So many things can happen.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned to Eric was like, yeah, I feel like on the late restarts especially, I feel like that's where the leaders are kind of the most susceptible to the kind of that attack with the big toe and everything like that. So, and then like you mentioned too, like the draft was very, very powerful time. We would see that with the swap draft and everything too. So there'd have been a lot for you to try to kind of manage all in one shot there at the end, but so you made the strategy work out, got in front at the time of the yellow, and then were able to hold off there at the end. So, no, great job tonight. Like I said, you've had some bad luck in these previous ones. I'll say so. It was nice to see you kind of had the luck turn back your way finally on this one. So, before I let you go enjoy it more, as always, gotta give you the floor for any thanks and shouts for that win tonight.
Well, shout out to 4D Racewear. Go to 4dracewear.com for boots, nice boots. I will say, if you don't have a pair, get yourself a pair, especially if you're a sim racer. You'll grow to love them. They got gloves, other apparel. You guys up in the booth, as always, thank you for broadcasting. It's always entertaining to watch. Everybody here in the league for racing with us. Matt and Craig for putting it all together, and there's a race coming up on Sunday with if it's all right with the Elite Racing League, and hopefully if anybody's got some free time about 7 o'clock on a Sunday, it'd be a good time to come out and see some of the best guys in Indy and duke it out there.
Nah, that'd be a lot of fun to see. I said you guys, yeah, you guys are monsters over in those open wheel stuff. It's always fun to watch you guys dice it up over there for sure. So, good luck on that one as well. But before you get on to that one, go enjoy this one, and look forward to seeing you on track again here soon, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I am going to enjoy this after the last couple weeks. It's frustrating at Kansas, as you saw. Drove through the field and salvaged what I could, but it was nice to have a race finally fall my way and not have anything happen in there. So hopefully we'll talk to you guys again. Thank you.
All right, Andrew, that is our race winner in that number 13 of Christopher. And and that's the thing is, he's had pace all season long. Obviously didn't really get to, he still showed it even though he was trap laps down, but he's had pace. It's just he hasn't had the luck to go along with it, unfortunately. So able to get the one tonight and then getting that win. He jumps 3 spots up into 4th in points. And that's the thing, is he's talking about salvaging. I mean, he's still 4th in points after how bad that race at Kansas went. So the problem is, though, he's right. I mean, again, we're only race 3 in, but I'm Mark Murphy, Matt Wagner. It's 3 top 5s in 3 races. I mean, that's some really good numbers to kick off the season.
It's one of these seasons that we don't think we could predict the winner. We'll be talking to 3 different people every single week going forward, which is pretty exciting. Just, highlighting some of these guys that can find their way up front and get a chance to talk to us and really dissect the race a little bit. And I think this championship is really going to just unfold in ways that we don't even really know yet. So I'm very excited to see what happens for the rest of this season. And it's a little bit of a longer season too, which is it kind of equalizes the good with the bad too.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a lot of fun to see, like I said, how it unfolds. I believe we are off next week, the 10th, but we'll be back again on the 17th. And then from there, obviously 2 weeks off for Christmas and New Year's. And then I believe back again on January 7th. So still plenty of racing to go. Say we'll be back again on Thursday night for the Xfinity Series Super Speedway side. And then then finishing up the Sundays as well, getting down to the championships over there. So Andrew, as always, man, it's a blast doing these with you. Definitely appreciate your awesome insight as always. And of course, also everybody watching, supporting us here at Green White Checker TV. Thank you as well. And again, don't be shy. Feel free to chime in the chat if you have any questions. If you want to see some extra TV time for one of your drivers, I am definitely not above any bribery or just say, hey, I'm a fan of so and so. I'll give them some extra time. So
we'll have plenty to say about them for sure.
Exactly. And it's always positive, no matter what, unless it's Matt.
Yeah, that's always a fun one. I hope you guys have fun in 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I cannot make it in 2 weeks. I have a commitment, so maybe you'll have to squeeze your brother back in or something like that. And
yeah, I'll find a victim.
I hope the fans aren't too upset by that, but I'm sure you guys are going to have a great race, and I'll try and tune in just to check out how everyone's doing. It helps me, especially when I come back for the following race, just to see what happened, to kind of keep the enhancement going.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I say it's going to actually be the original Atlanta, so very abrasive track. So, I'll be curious to see what the tire wear, tire temperatures, all that. Yeah, that's going to be a curious one. And also new. I think it'll be the new iRacing build as well. So we'll see if any changes happen to the car between now and then. So, yeah, a lot to watch for. As always, though, Andrew, thank you so much for doing this with me, man. It's a lot of fun hanging out with you and kind of BSing as we go. I say look forward to doing it again here with you soon.
Yeah, and maybe if I do show up, I'll ask to highlight Matt a little bit. I'll be a Matt Wagner fan.
All right, yeah, you can do that. He'll want some extra love. Again, everybody watching, supporting, thank you so much. Again, we'll be back on Thursday night for the Xfinity Super Speedway Series. Until then, though, as always, take care, stay safe, have a good night.